The life of Orson Welles was characterized by a series of often tragic contradictions. As a child prodigy with a deep passion for the arts and literature, Welles achieved remarkable success in both theater and radio at a young age. He was a trailblazer in radio drama, famously stirring controversy and capturing national attention with the Mercury Theater's 1938 adaptation of War of the Worlds. Nevertheless, Welles ultimately discovered his true artistic expression in cinema. His first feature film, Citizen Kane, released in 1941, would later be celebrated as the greatest film ever made. At just 25 years old, Welles was considered one of America's most innovative filmmakers. However, his inclination towards excess and his unwillingness to conform to the limitations imposed by the studio system hindered his potential. For decades, Welles fought for the creative freedom he had enjoyed while making Citizen Kane, yet he was consistently impeded by studio executives. With his artistic vision compromised by censorship, Welles chose to pursue independent filmmaking, often financing his projects through acting roles that did not fully utilize his exceptional talents. While critics and film scholars recognized his brilliance throughout his career, by the time of his passing, he was largely perceived by the public as merely a television spokesperson. Just months prior to his death, Welles contributed his iconic baritone voice to the 1986 animated film Transformers, the movie, voicing the character Unicron, an unworthy conclusion for the director of Citizen Kane. From remarkable achievements to profound disappointments, this narrative encapsulates the complex truth of Orson Welles. George Orson Welles was born on May 6, 1915, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. According to Barbara Leeming, the author of Orson Welles, a biography, Welles' father, Richard Head Welles, achieved financial success as the inventor of a widely used carbide lamp for automobiles and bicycles. However, as the industry transitioned to electrical lighting, he sold his manufacturing business to pursue other inventions, which met with varying degrees of success. Welles' mother, Beatrice Ives Welles, hailed from a wealthy background and was a skilled pianist with a passion for intellectual endeavors. She was also an early supporter of women's rights. While Orson Welles would later describe his parents as mythically wonderful, their family life was not without challenges. The practical Richard Welles often clashed with his wife's artistic inclinations. Beatrice disapproved of her husband's fondness for music halls and showgirls. When a physician named Maurice Bernstein took an interest in young Orson, recognizing his genius and showering attention on Beatrice, Richard turned to alcohol. The couple separated when Orson was 6 years old. Despite these difficulties, Orson flourished as a gifted child and displayed talent as a violinist and pianist, albeit with some reluctance. Tragically, Beatrice passed away from jaundice a few years later. Following her death, Orson accompanied his father, who struggled with alcoholism, on aimless journeys around the world. Like his wife, Richard Welles also died at a young age. At the age of 13, Orson came under the care of Bernstein, who continued to support his development as a prodigy. Orson Welles' upbringing was significantly influenced by his mother's prominence as a renowned concert pianist, which afforded him the opportunity to engage with some of the leading musicians, intellectuals, and scholars of his time. In contrast, his father introduced him to a more unrefined aspect of society, familiarizing him with cartoonists, sports writers, and a variety of colorful characters reminiscent of Damon Runyon's works. Due to limited interaction with peers his own age, Welles cultivated a relatively advanced taste from an early age. Aside from a failed attempt to enroll in public school for the 4th grade, he received his education at home from Beatrice Welles, who began introducing him to the literary works of Shakespeare, Keats, and Tennyson when he was just 2 years old, as noted by Frank Brady. At the age of 11, Maurice Bernstein and Dick Wells facilitated Orson's enrollment at the Todd School in Woodstock, Illinois. According to Orson Welles, a biography, neither Orson nor the institution was particularly enthusiastic about this arrangement. Orson later recounted to biographer Barbara Leeming that he felt as though he was sent to the slammer. His older brother, Richard, had previously been expelled from the same school a decade earlier due to disciplinary issues, and the headmaster, Noble Hill, was not eager to manage another Welles student. Despite these initial challenges, Orson flourished under the guidance of an instructor named Roger Hill. Hill recognized Orson's exceptional intellect, determining that he possessed an IQ of 185, and nurtured his passion for theater, urging him to focus on subjects that captivated him. With Hill's mentorship, Orson dedicated his 5 years at Todd to refining his skills in the arts, literature, and drama. Biographer Barbara Leeming notes that during his artistic journey in Ireland, Orson Welles excelled more in socializing and revelry than in his painting endeavors. As his financial resources dwindled, Welles faced the genuine risk of becoming impoverished in an unfamiliar land. Determined to reach Dublin, renowned for its esteemed Abbey and Gate theatres, Welles aimed to pursue a career on stage. However, it was not his talent or self-assurance that secured him his initial role. While attending a performance of Melians at the Gate, he recognized an acquaintance performing a minor part. After being invited backstage by this friend, Welles engaged in conversation with Hilton Edwards, the theater's co-director. With flair, Welles presented himself as a visiting actor from New York, claiming to have recently concluded a successful series of performances with the Theatre Guild. Ultimately, Welles' embellishments proved unnecessary. He demonstrated exceptional acting skills, precisely what Edwards required for a challenging role in an upcoming production. Following a brief audition, Welles was welcomed into the Gates Company. In a matter of days, he transformed from a struggling painter to a professional actor at one of Europe's most esteemed theaters. Although he enjoyed success as Carl Alexander in the Gates staging of Jesus, Welles found himself primarily assigned to minor roles, likely due to the jealousy of Edwards' professional and romantic partner, Michael McLemore, who felt overshadowed by the young talent. Orson Welles, after participating in various theatrical productions, departed from Ireland to New York. At the age of 19, he made his Broadway debut portraying Tybalt in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, where he attracted the attention of a young theater producer named John Houseman. Houseman subsequently cast Welles in the leading role of the play Panic, which initiated a successful yet tumultuous professional collaboration between the two. In 1936, while engaged with the Federal Theater Project, a New Deal initiative aimed at providing employment for actors following the Great Depression, Houseman appointed Welles to direct Macbeth. This production, featuring an all-black cast, saw Welles relocate the setting from Scotland to Haiti, representing the first of many innovative interpretations of Shakespeare's works by the director. After staging the contentious production The Cradle Will Rock, both Houseman and Welles departed from the Federal Theater Project to establish their own repertory company. The Mercury Theater, committed to pioneering modern drama, garnered recognition for its groundbreaking stage and radio performances. As highlighted in a 2013 PBS documentary, Welles and the Mercury Theater achieved legendary status in radio history with their 1938 Halloween broadcast of War of the Worlds. Directed and narrated by the 23-year-old Welles, the broadcast incited a minor panic among some listeners who mistakenly believed the dramatization, presented in a news bulletin format, was a genuine report of an extraterrestrial invasion. Although the extent of the panic was largely exaggerated by the media, it prompted some officials to advocate for increased regulation of radio broadcasting. Nonetheless, the program solidified Welles's reputation as a masterful storyteller. As outlined in Robert L. Carringer's The Making of Citizen Kane, Orson Welles' foray into filmmaking in 1939 was marked by an extraordinary level of creative freedom, largely due to the support of RKO Studios head, George L. Schaefer. Schaefer successfully enticed Welles away from radio by offering a contract that granted him remarkable creative control, demonstrating his belief in the untested director's potential. Welles was not only responsible for writing, producing, directing, and acting in the film, but he was also afforded the unprecedented right of final cut, an unusual arrangement in the 1930s and still uncommon for even seasoned directors today. Initially, this contract led to ridicule for both Schaefer and his boy wonder within the film industry. Citizen Kane, which draws inspiration from the life of newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst, features Welles in the role of Charles Foster Kane, a newspaper mogul who ascends from obscurity to immense power, only to become estranged from those around him due to his arrogance and longing for his lost youth. Despite its eventual acclaim, Citizen Kane encountered significant challenges prior to its release. As noted in Pauline Kael's Raising Cain, MGM's Louis B. Mayer, concerned that Hearst might retaliate against the film industry, offered Schaefer $842,000 to destroy the film. Hearst's subsequent attacks adversely affected the film's box office performance. For a time, Citizen Kane was regarded merely as a curiosity until it experienced a resurgence as an art house film in the 1950s, prompting film scholars to reassess it as potentially the greatest film ever created. According to Barbara Leaming's biography published in 1985, Orson Welles entered into matrimony with Virginia Nicholson, an 18-year-old student participating in Wells Theater Festival at the Todd School in 1934. Nicholson accompanied Welles during the formative years of his stage and radio career. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1940, shortly before Welles commenced work on Citizen Kane, primarily due to his extramarital relationships with actress Dolores Del Rio and dancers Vera Zorina and Tilly Losh. The couple had one offspring, a daughter named Christopher. Among Welles' romantic entanglements, his marriage to actress Rita Hayworth stands out as the most renowned and tumultuous. Hayworth, a leading figure in 1940s cinema and a symbol of Hollywood allure, appeared to be an unlikely partner for the intellectually inclined Welles. They were wed on September 7, 1943, in a courthouse ceremony that surprised many in their social circle. The couple welcomed a daughter, Rebecca, in 1944. However, as chronicled in Orson Welles, a biography, the marriage was ultimately undermined by Welles' infidelities, including a fervent affair with Judy Garland, alongside Hayworth's struggles with alcoholism, leading to their divorce in 1948. In 1955, Welles married Italian actress Paola Mori, whom he had met in 1953. Their relationship blossomed during the filming of the thriller Mr. Arkadin. This marriage produced Welles' third daughter, Beatrice. Although Welles remained wed to Mori until his passing, he maintained a second residence with his mistress, actress and filmmaker Oja Kodar. Orson Welles was acknowledged as a groundbreaking director prior to reaching the age of 30. However, he faced significant challenges in bringing his distinctive vision to fruition throughout his career. Despite the acclaim from critics, scholars, and film enthusiasts who regarded Citizen Kane as the pinnacle of cinematic achievement, Welles found himself largely unemployable in Hollywood, ultimately compelled to seek financial backing for his films overseas. Welles encountered a pivotal lesson about the film industry with his second feature, The Magnificent Ambersons, released in 1942. Adapted from Booth Tarkington's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel that chronicles the decline of a wealthy family at the turn of the century, Welles' film incorporated the technical advancements that had made Citizen Kane a remarkable success, while presenting a narrative that was both grand and intimately engaging. As highlighted in a 2010 retrospective by Vanity Fair, a disastrous test screening led RKO to re-edit and reshoot significant portions of the film. Consequently, The Magnificent Ambersons was reduced from 132 minutes to a mere 88 minutes and received a severely limited theatrical release. According to Clinton Heylin, the author of Despite the System, Orson Welles versus the Hollywood Studios, Welles would spend the subsequent 17 years of his career navigating the studio system, only to have his creative endeavors undermined by industry executives. During this period, Welles produced 6 films in Hollywood, each of which was adversely affected by studio interference. Notably, 3 of his studio projects, The Stranger, The Lady from Shanghai, and Touch of Evil, were taken from him during the editing process and restructured in an effort to enhance their commercial viability. Despite his deteriorating health, Orson Welles approached the 1980s with a remarkable sense of optimism and enthusiasm that belied the challenges he faced. Known for his groundbreaking contributions to film, theater, and radio, Welles remained a vibrant figure in the entertainment industry, continuing to engage in what he referred to as jobs of work. Among these projects was his final performance as the formidable antagonist Unicron in the animated feature Transformers, the movie, which premiered in 1986. This role, while not typical of his earlier, more celebrated performances, showcased his enduring talent and willingness to embrace new forms of storytelling. During this period, Welles had a variety of projects at different stages of development and completion, reflecting his relentless creativity and passion for the arts. Notably, he continued to refine his long-cherished magnum opus, Don Quixote, a project that had been a labor of love for many years. Welles's dedication to this film was emblematic of his artistic vision and his desire to leave a lasting legacy, even as he faced the realities of his declining health. Tragically, according to reports from the New York Times, Welles passed away from a heart attack at his home in Los Angeles on October 10, 1985, at the age of 70. His death marked the end of an era for a man who had profoundly influenced the landscape of modern cinema and theater. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight conducted just a week prior to his death, Welles reflected on his life and career with a sense of gratitude and humility. He stated, "I've had a wonderful, fascinating life. I can't complain. I'm the luckiest person I know, and I'd rather be remembered as a good guy than as a difficult genius." This sentiment encapsulated Welles's complex persona, an artist who, despite his immense talent and the challenges he faced, chose to focus on the positive aspects of his journey and the impact he had on those around him. His legacy continues to resonate, reminding us of the power of creativity and the importance of kindness in the pursuit of greatness.